For the last 2.5 years, I've been on this platform called Facebook and YouTube, Instagram a little bit. But Facebook in particular, under the name of Tom Cowles or Tommy Cowles. And every day when I get online, I'm posed with the same question. What's on your mind? I think it's a very interesting question. So I thought I'd start there today. We put a lot of stock and a lot of importance in what the mind is telling us. And I'm not sure if this is all that important. You see, the more I go into the subject of the mind and what's on it, the more I see fragmentary thoughts. As easy as it is for me to string together words to make sentences and create paragraphs, and I can write all day long, but what does it really amount to in the end? What does this amount to? What are the words that we speak? What importance do they really have when it's pretty obvious we're not understanding one another? So, what's on my mind? Quite honestly, there's very little on my mind. But if I allow my mind to wander, it can get into all sorts of things. What's on my heart is more important than what I think. What's What's on my mind? Does it matter? I was just asked today what images do I see when I listen to the music that was just playing, and the images that I see that are directly in front of me. I have a mic, computer, some things that I've worked on in the past that now I take with me everywhere I go, getting rid of most. I see a window, fog, moisture, condensation on the window. But where it's clear, I see a tree. The same tree I've been looking at for the last 2-3 months. Branches cut, shaped, formed. Man does this. Cuts things down to a workable size or shape, or not allowing the tree to grow to its fullest potential. Through that, I see more trees, other trees that have been given the opportunity to grow. I believe that's a willow. And because there's no leaves on the trees, I see through the trees, further into the distance. I see 3 flags, all Canadian, waving aimlessly in the wind. Beyond this, I see an amusement park. A road going up a mountain. I see the cars going up the road, the bluffs. 2 mountains. One I know the name of, but it does not matter. And then beyond that, I see more trees on the tops of the mountains. And then the sky, clouds, blue, white. Then I look to the right. I see a commercial for a law firm. For a class action lawsuit. And then I see the news. And the insanity of it all, the fallacy of it all. I see politicians that continually want more power, more stuff, more things. The need to acquire. I see that it's never enough. I see journalists on the major network news trying to piece it together. But they never will. Because they're coming at it from the wrong angle. They're looking at the wrong things. I see people I see people trying to find purpose, identity, clawing their way to the top, to be the best, and doing whatever it takes to get there. And I'm wondering, is there a different way of doing it? Is there a different way of living? Is it possible to experience this better? I'm a 48-year-old man that lives in Canada. Some would say I'm an artist. Some would say I'm a house painter. Some would say I'm a program coordinator. Some would say I'm a captain of a ship or a boat. We are more than the things that we have done in the past or what we do now. One of the first questions that anybody asks when they first meet each other is, "What do you do?" As if this has some meaning behind it. What do you do? What do you do for a living? This question is pretty much lost on me, in that I don't do anything anymore. I wonder if there's a way we can live differently. More optimally. I wonder if how we're living now is a direct result to all the cases that we see of depression, anxiety, sleep disorders, all the different boxes that we put each other in, mental illness. I wonder if the way we're living causes these manifestations. I wonder if we can see this. It's pretty clear to this individual that's speaking now that most don't see that there's another way, that there could be even the possibility that there's another way to live. Now, I'm not here. This person that's speaking in front of you is not here to preach any type of religion. I do not subscribe to any kind of theology, ideology. Or have any political affiliations. I'm not here to convince anybody of anything. But the dialogue, I believe, needs to happen. So that maybe, possibly, we can all be redirected back to ourselves. And to make some connections that are desperately needed. Some would say that I'm vague, boring, that's possible. But I'm not here to entertain. Some would say that I'm an actor, I'm a writer, I'm a director. All these things don't matter. We're all acting. We all have masks that we wear. One day we wear one mask, another day we wear another. One time we're talking with one person and we're one person. And then we're talking to another person and then we're another person. And we are different when we talk to our family and when we talk to our friends. Then when we're at an interview for a job, we're continually, constantly throwing on masks that we believe are us. And some of us have convinced ourselves that these identities are us. What's on my mind? A few days ago, a good friend of mine online, we were discussing as best we could with the lag time that is obviously hindering our communication slightly. But to go into purpose. What's our purpose? I see a lot of people defining themselves by various purposes to cover up the fact that we don't know. We don't know what the purpose is. We've been conditioned ever since we were young to be and act in a certain way, to do accordingly to what we're told. To trust certain people or organizations, to believe in specific ideologies, theories, and we've somehow missed the wonder of it all. The surprise. It's obvious that humanity lacks contentment, lacks the ability to express compassion, does not know what love means. We throw this word love around like a rag doll. We think love is possession of one another in relationships, male, female, male, male, female, female. We think that to possess is to love. And it's very subtle. And until you really look into it deeply, you won't see it. And most people just don't. Most people do not understand who they are and why they're here. So, is there a reason? Is there a purpose? And what would that purpose be? Purpose. I don't think it's a question that we can answer without knowing who we are. I think it's a question that, countless books have been written about. People saying that they know, experts, religious teachers, smart people, intellectuals, telling us what our purpose is, or telling us how to find our purpose. We're so what's the word? Conditioned. And we can't even see what's directly in front of us. We can't look at a tree or a bird, flower, two people walking down a path, hand in hand. We don't see things that are directly in front of us. All we see is a fog. Most just don't see what's in front of them. They're not attentive. They're consumed by worry, guilt, a fear And fear is at the root of all of our difficulties. So to understand fear, we need to confront it, to see it, not to throw drugs at it, medication, alcohol, smoking, overeating. We try to cope with it by using band-aids. But all that happens when you put a band-aid on something, so you don't let the air get at it. You don't let it heal on its own, then it festers, it pusses, and it just gets worse. So, depression is another term that has been thrown around willy-nilly amongst the medical professionals. Your average person will readily come up with a diagnosis that one is depressed and that one should be on some form of medication because A, it works for them, or B, they've seen it work for others, or C, blah, blah, list goes on. But possibly please, let's look at it fresh, without the history in the past. Is it doing us a disservice by masking this pain or this sorrow, this overwhelming sadness, whatever you want to call it, depression? Are we doing ourselves a disservice by creating more fog? Is there a reason why we, humanity in general, an overwhelming percentage of the population, is there a reason why we are so depressed? At the root of it, what is it? Have we asked ourselves this? What is at the root of depression? Or have we just become satisfied with the diagnosis and then the band-aid? It would seem that we are okay with just diagnosing it and not fixing it. but masking it with chemicals. Scientists will say that the brain is the most complicated thing in the universe. Now, I don't know if that's true, but that's what they say. Billions of neurons, I don't know how many, whatever the number is, the various connections. But they will also say that they know very little about the brain. They know very little about the universe. They know very little about the subject that they are researching. And yet, we have no problem rolling the dice and throwing chemicals at it. What's on my mind? I don't think it matters what's on my mind. I don't think it matters what's on your mind. I think what matters is that we come to some conclusions, or at least continue to try. No, not try. We continue to look intently, deeply into this. There's no use in trying. Just do. The collective human mind is ill. It's sick. The reason why I say this is the evidence that we can see around us, whether it be in our own homes, or what we see on the TV, or what we read on the internet, or we hear on YouTube. The violence, the growing need to be right all the time, our ability to be so comfortable living in lies and allowing lies to continue. Without even questioning anymore. We just, for the most part, humanity believes what others have told them. This is a problem. Humanity has allowed itself to be subject to all these man-made ideals without without understanding the ramifications. There are more followers than there are leaders. The leaders that are in place, the majority of leaders, governments, in churches, the majority of leaders lead by using fear as their number one tool to control people. And we're okay with it. This is a real problem. And as much as I would like to come at it from the perspective of laughing it off or, making light of it, making it into an entertainment to possibly get to the truth that way, the more I think about all those parlor tricks that we use to get to the truth, the more I realize that it's doing most likely a disservice to us, and it's making it so that we have to figure out exactly what it is that other person is saying, and whatever that other person is saying really doesn't mean too much, but for some reason we hold value in what others say or think about us. And most of us have not seriously considered spending any time with ourselves to figure out why we're here. And what the purpose is, if there is a purpose at all. My only goal, if I had a goal, is to understand what the truth is. The only thing I think about is the truth of what is. It's the only thing I think about. This does not make me a great man, a big man, a smart man. All I can say is that from when I was young, from my first thought, I could see something wrong, something off. And that at the heart of it, truth has been swept to the side. And even though I couldn't put words to it, I could see it, feel it, whatever. And through the course of life, I've tried to mask it through various relationships, putting an extraordinary amount of credence in relationships, importance in relationships, pleasing people, making them happy, feeling like maybe that's my purpose, to help. And I believe I've been, looking back on it, I know I was misguided. There were other times when I used alcohol for an extended period of time to mask the fact that I wasn't dealing with what's actually important. Through life, you go through things, you overcomplicate. But there's a simplicity about life that we've forgotten, that we used to know. Maybe at one time. When we came here, when we were born, what did we see? Now that varies between people. But somewhere down the line, we have allowed others to control us to the point where we don't think for ourselves anymore. Fact. We quote other people. We ascribe to whatever it is to tell us how to be in this world, on this planet. We've forgotten how simple it is. So, here we are. I can't see any comments. Maybe it's better this way. I would hope that we're all having this conversation together, and please I am nothing special. I have very little information to give. If there's anything that anything positive that would come out of a conversation like this is that we all go to our corners and we spend time with ourselves and we contemplate in silence, because silence is the only place where any sense can be made of these things. Currently, in the United States of America, there's a president and an administration in the White House and in the Senate and in the Congress and within all the different governmental bodies that spring from it. There is this overwhelming sense of pride. And pride is not it's not a good thing, if I could use that word to explain it. Good, bad. You see, we can only explain things within the context of what we've experienced and what we've known, with the words that we have. But, so forgive me, please. Because many times the words that we use and the words I use can be twisted, could be seen differently than how I see it or the definition that I have in my mind. But the facts, the truth, is that in the United States of America, there is this pride. I used to live in the States, in Georgia. I went to school in Georgia for a year. And I really noticed it then, but I've seen it, whether it be on the news or in movies, or it's that undying allegiance to the flag or the country. That sense of unwavering identity to that group, to that tribe. And it creates an imbalance. It makes one believe that they are better than others. It makes one think. It convinces one to think that they can act in a violent manner because they are right. And this game is being played out over and over again. And people, humanity, has bought it. The back and forth. I'm right, you're wrong. You're wrong, I'm right. Black and white thinking. With no grays, no sense of what the middle is, where the compromise is. Very little common sense being used. And this is a problem. This is a problem that affects everyone on the earth. It's serious. There are those that believe that not talking about it is the best approach. That just focusing on themselves or their family or their small group of people that they're in contact with on a daily basis, that's the only thing that needs to be focused on to fix that. And that might be a good thing to focus on these things, but if it's not in the context of all people, everyone on the earth, then we're again missing a mark. We're missing the point. We're not understanding the connection that we have with one another. Now, is it true? Ask yourself, is this true? If one person is suffering, do we all suffer? Or are we an island unto ourselves? Or the group of people that we decide to defend? It's incumbent on us to take this moment and figure this out and make the change. And this change doesn't take time. It's not a process. It just means giving your full attention to it. Now, is there a better way to live? Is there a different way to go about this thing called life? Are there more important things than jobs, economy, money, banks, corporations? Are there more important things that deserve our focus and our attention, our complete attention? My answer to that is yes. I don't know much, but I know that. Well, that's just how things are. So, are we satisfied with that? Because that's just how things are. We go to our job. We sell our time. We sell ourselves. For what? More money. Or less money. Is this healthy? We have to ask ourselves these questions. In the United States right now, an election is coming. There's an administration in office now that is brazenly, outrageously doing so much damage to the planet, to people, using, abusing. Are we good with this? Are your kids going to be good with that? More of the same? Or is there a possibility that we can, on a global scale, do something different? Maybe not. I think there is. But are we willing to do what it takes to get there? I've been here for a while. I see what goes on. I watch. I see people in jobs they hate. I see people working at things knowing that it's either bad for the environment, bad for them, ruins their body, but they do it for money. I see people working for very little because they feel they have no option. I see others that take advantage of people, knowing that most people will follow. So knowing this, they will offer less because they know they can get away with it. I see in my own town businesses that start jobs and don't finish them and go on to the next job that pays more. I see people taking advantage of systems, businesses, taxes, insurance. I see that in business, that if you're not willing to cut another one's throat, to act in deceitful, deceptive ways, if you're not willing to do that, you will not succeed in business. Taking advantage of people, not spreading the wealth. And we all have said it, most of us, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, and that is true. What are we doing about it? Because it seems that we just continue to allow it to happen, which means we're responsible for it. All of us. Responsible. So, is there a different way? Ask yourself this. Is there a different way that we can do things? Know yourself. Spend time with yourself. If you know yourself, you'll know your place in the world. If you know yourself, you know the connection that you have with everybody and everything in the universe. Continue to distract yourself with sports, entertainment. Not to say that these things are bad. It's neither bad nor good, but it is a distraction. And if we're continually distracting ourselves from ourselves, then we will never know who we are. And we will never know what our connection is to other and others. If we know the connection that we have to others, we might know the other. We might be able to get a glimpse of the bigger picture. We need to stop listening to other people, and we need to start listening to ourselves. But don't be deceived by your minds. There is a difference between being clever and being intelligent. Cleverness resides in the mind. Pride, hate, jealousy, rage, all these things live in the mind, and they're all from the past. Do not be deceived by your own mind. Make the connections. Know the mind's place. The ego resides in the mind. The ego, that thing, that sense of me, lives in the mind. And to deny it to see it for what it is means dying to it. Exposing it for what it does, or what it has done. Exposing the mind if you see it, then the only conclusion that you can come to logically is to die to it. We are all looking for a purpose. Most of us, if we're honest about it. What's my purpose? It's my purpose to be a good father, a good mother, husband, wife, a good boss, a good politician, a good pastor. These are all things that you do. And that's it. It's not purpose, right? But we think that because we're a doctor, that's our purpose. And it's not. It's just a title. So if there's purpose, if there's purpose, we cannot say our purpose is what we do. I hope that makes sense. What's important? What's really important, and what have we made important? Because It's obvious, isn't it? It's obvious that we've made certain things important, and they're only creating a cycle, a pattern that we continue to relive. Like politics. That's important. Is it? As soon as someone says, I'm important, you could be rest assured that they're not. As soon as one says, I'm the only one that can do this because A, B, or C, you know that's not true. It's a game, politics is. And both sides are playing the same game. Just recently, Michael Bloomberg comes into the picture to be on the ticket for the candidacy so they or he can become president of the United States. And he has set himself up as the only one that can defeat Donald Trump because he has the money. He can throw more money at it. He can deceive more people. He could buy more propaganda, more TV spots than anyone. And he's willing to do the very same things that Donald Trump is doing, in that he is willing to point fingers, to call names, to shame, to get what he wants. They are both playing this game, and they both love the fight. Both of these individuals, both of these parties, Democrat, Republican, both, all need the fight to continue so that they can maintain the power and the control and the wealth. It's a tennis match that never ends. But we've made these things so important, and we've given so much authority and power to these people just by allowing it to happen. Not giving permission, allowing. By allowing, you've given permission for them to continue treating others in these ways. The sign of a good leader is one who you don't see. The best leader is one that doesn't lead. The worst are those that aren't respected or are feared. Those are the worst. The worst are those that set themselves up as the only ones that can fix whatever it is that's in front of them. They're the only ones. And it goes against all logic that one person can know everything and have the bead on what needs to be done. Because it's impossible to know everything. Right? Donald Trump knows everything. That's what he would like you to believe. That's what he needs you to believe for you to continue to vote for him. And he will play you and your church and your racist organization to get exactly what he wants, because he knows that you will follow him to the end as if he is God. He thinks he is above the administration, the White House, the Senate, the Congress. All think that they know better. I wonder if there's a different way of doing it. I wonder if we need politicians at all. I wonder if we were to continue doing this government thing. I wonder if there is any need for any politician ever again, considering the fact that we are able to communicate with one another so easily. I wonder. Yes.